Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our orientation this morning. Today, we'll be looking at LET Training's Certificate 4 in Work Health and Safety, BSB41419. My name is Tim Stalker. I'm one of the course advisors here at LET Training, and joining me this morning, I have one of our senior trainers, Ray McCall. Ray, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure, Tim. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. So, Ray, just before we get started, a lot of the people viewing this may not have had previous discussions or dealings with you. Could you give us a bit of background, maybe what you've been in before being one of our trainers, especially when it comes to WHS?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a range of business-related roles in national sense, and that's predominantly in the industries associated with hospitality and casinos, but also branching out in terms of facility services, community services, and obviously RTO, Registered Training Organisation management and service delivery. From a WHS point of view, some of the key achievements incorporated in that role, certainly within the community services sector, responsible for developing and deploying a complete WHS management system to pick up on not only responsibilities associated with WHS, but how it relates to the various national regulatory frameworks within community services, the likes of the NDIS. Another key responsibility was working in the facility services sector, which at the time was looking to self-insure and supporting the WHS team in that regard in developing and deploying the WHS capability and learning and development framework.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, just before we get into the orientation, just a little bit of housekeeping for everyone following along. Feel free to ask questions at any time in chat. One of our course advisors who are monitoring the chat will help you out with that. In the event that it is a question that requires maybe a bit more of an in-depth answer, the course advisor may ask you for your details. But we will also pause at a couple of occasions during the orientation just to see if there are any questions from chat that we can help with. But feel free to ask them at any point. But moving on now, as we said today, we are looking at Certificate 4 in Work Health and Safety, BSB 41419. This is a level 4 qualification under the Australian Qualifications Framework. As we see, moving up from here, you could then continue your studies into the Diploma and Advanced Diploma of Work Health and Safety. However, as the note there states, the Diploma and Advanced Diploma courses are not currently available at LET Training as of the recording of this video. This is also the most recent version of the course. The Work Health and Safety course is regularly updated, and the version we are offering, 41419, is at the time of this video the most up-to-date version of the course. The Certificate 4 in Work Health and Safety, incidentally, is also the highest level of work health and safety that you can study before you need prior study in order to meet entry requirements for the higher level courses. So, for example, if you wish to enroll in the Diploma of Work Health and Safety, you need to have completed as a minimum the 5 core units of the Certificate 4 in Work Health and Safety. And don't worry, we'll get into those core units in just a moment. Now, here are some career outcomes for people who are potentially looking at completing this course, but by no means is this all of the career outcomes you may be able to obtain. As we see here, things like safety officers or coordinators, WHS advisors, and even HR officers. Now, Ray, HR officer being there, is work health and safety something that you're going to need to do if you're going to get into human resources? Is a good thing to have?
It's certainly not an uncommon concurrent area of responsibilities. Certainly in certain small to medium businesses and enterprises, the two areas are combined, or WHS does typically fall under the umbrella of human resources. So it is certainly a viable qualification from that perspective. But having said that, outside of HR, I believe, given the current regime that we work under, that anyone who is responsible for managing and leading a business unit, or alternatively as an owner-operator, the qualification is definitely fit for purpose, given the obligations, the legal obligations that apply to them.
Fantastic. Now, with work health and safety, of course, it is also a very good skill set to have just for any general position. Work health and safety is one of those key areas that every single person on a work site, be that everything from construction to retail to office work, it is one of the things that everyone needs to know how to keep themselves safe, to keep others safe. So to have work health and safety as a maybe as a backup or as something just to add to the portfolio, it's always a good idea to have as well. Now, Ray, just quickly, one of the other things that we normally talk about when it comes to work health and safety is potentially combining that with other courses that we offer here at Let
Mm,
Training.
mm.
Now, we've already discussed HR. One of the ones that
Sure.
also gets brought up a lot is areas like leadership and management or business admin. Would you say it's a good combination to have?
Look, without a doubt, and as I mentioned before, given the responsibilities for someone within that business management or leadership role, or from the administration point of view in terms of risk management, that makes a perfect marriage of dual qualifications.
Fantastic. We'll just move on now to have a look at the course outline. Now, as we see here, we have divided the units you'll be studying up into various skill sets. We see
Mhm,
here functional skills, level 1, functional skills level 2, and also
mhm.
professional skills.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I get asked a lot about, Ray, are those professional skills there. Now, some
Yes.
people are doing this and they just think
Yeah.
that work health and safety is just going to be 10 units focusing on work health and safety. And they look at things here like lead
Mm.
team effectiveness or analyze and present research information and go, is this something really important when it comes
Mm.
to work health and
Mm.
safety? Would you, as a trainer, would you say that they're essential skills to have as well as the work health and safety skills there?
Look, without a doubt, and the two units that you flagged, if we look at research, analyze and present research information, that's critical. And I mentioned that from a twofold perspective. One, to be able to analyze and present research information related to the WHS legislative and regulatory system. As you alluded to, that the system is constantly changing. That at the time of this recording, the Safe Work Australia, who is responsible for model legislative provisions, is proposing for jurisdictions to include psychosocial risk, for example, into the laws. So therefore, someone does need the capability to actually undertake that research and analyse all of that information to be able to present it to a board or an executive committee or a team of senior management. And that then ties in with, and sorry, the second fold from there, the research information is relating to internal research within the WHS space. So analysing incident trends or analysing and researching accident situations within an organisation, and then being able to present again to relevant stakeholders the findings from there. And as I say, the link to leading team effectiveness is that when you're dealing with others, hence the team, whether that be the team that you're overseeing or upwards communication, needing to influence in that regard. So quite complementary and tied in around that, the things like write complex documents, the board or the senior management would expect you to be able to develop a paper, a research paper, or alternatively draft safe work procedures or any of the other supporting documentation under a WHS risk management system, which then links in with that latter unit, coordinate workplace information system, the being able to manage and oversee the WHS risk information system that is appropriate to the organisation. So as you say, those professional skills are integral and are intricately interwoven with the functional WHS skills.
Right, fantastic. And just a bit more about those functional skills. Now, we see here functional skills level 1. Now, a little bit earlier, we did discuss the core units of the Cert
Mm,
4 in work health and safety. Those level
mm,
1 functional skills there are, in fact, the 5 core units for this course. These 5 units must be completed in order. So,
mm.
unlike a lot of our other courses, which are completely self-guided with work health and safety, those functional skills must be completed one after the other. Now, Ray, is that because each of those, the skills you'll learn in those units, they sort of follow along from one another? So it's a natural progression?
Absolutely. There is a scaffolding associated with it. If you look at the first, assist with workplace compliance with WHS laws, that essentially you need that underpinning understanding of the legislative and regulatory framework within which you're operating. And again, most jurisdictions in this country, not all, but most, when I talk with jurisdictions, states and territories, work with the harmonised piece of legislation, but you need to be able to unpack it in terms of the provisions, which then inform the subsequent areas, things like the participation process, the consultation and participation, risk management, management systems, and incident response. So yes, it is a building block approach.
Fantastic. Now, just all 10 units of this course must be completed in order to receive the certificate for. However, in the event that you get through your enrolment term and you haven't finished all of the units and you don't wish to get a course extension, which we'll talk about later on, you will receive a statement of attainment for any units that you have completed. So that means you have completed both assessment tasks, and we'll discuss assessments in a moment. But for any unit where you've completed both assessment tasks, you will receive a statement of attainment. So even if you've only completed one unit, you'll still walk away with something. And we'll just hold for a moment here and we'll just see if there are any questions from chat that we can help with before we move on. Doesn't appear to be any popping up at the moment. So we'll move on to the next section, which concerns the learning facilitation model. Now, as we see here, this is a 100% self-paced and self-guided course, and it is part of the online learning platform. Once you're provided with your login details, you can log into your online learning portal anywhere, so long as you have a computer and internet access. That's one very important factor to note there. You need to have a computer. This could be a desktop or a laptop computer. Unfortunately, our courses will not work for anyone trying to access them on a smart device. We have had people study overseas. We've had people in the Defence Force. We have had people in remote areas doing fly in, fly out, and people on working holidays who have been able to complete their course with LET training. However, we do advise always make sure you check any time differences. Our trainers are available on between 9 to 5:30 Sydney time. So you will need to adjust accordingly for any support sessions or assistance with assessment tasks if you are going to be studying out of the country. Now, we recommend 10 to 15 hours of study a week, and that will finish one unit per month on average. Some people have finished it in less. After all, it is a self-paced course. However, that's the usual rule of thumb. We'd like to give around 10 to 15 hours of study a week. And we see here, as part of the course, you will also receive access to webinars. Now, Ray, you deal with quite a lot of the webinars that we do here at LET Training. Have there been any recently concerning work health and safety that you've had dealings with?
Yeah, look, twofold. There are suites of webinars that unpack the assessment requirements, particularly the practical project, which we'll talk about in a moment. So those provide guidance on a very focused step-by-step basis of how to approach the various activities. The other suite are topic or concept related. So some examples within the WHS space that recently facilitated, including understanding the key components and requirements of a work health and safety management system. You'll recall that that's one of the units that are required, the functional skills in terms of the program. So a dedicated session around what really is, or essentially is, a work health and safety management system. Another example is deconstructing the key elements of the Australian legal system, given that, as we said before, that assist with compliance is a core underpinning subject for the whole qualification. So a session dedicated to getting learners' heads around what comprises the legal system, what are elements of the various jurisdictions when it comes to the likes of WHS laws, and distinguishing between legislation and what we refer to as common law. So some examples in that regard of the suite of webinars available to learners enrolled in the Certificate 4 in WHS.
Fantastic. Now, for people who are enrolled in this course, if an upcoming webinar is involving one of the units of the work health and safety course, we will always let you know by email. So you can have the option to view it live. Alternatively, what you can do is you can get a link and you can view the whole webinar after it has been completed. Important thing to note, access to webinars does not incur any additional fees. And another thing that doesn't incur additional fees are our support services. As we've previously discussed, you will have a dedicated trainer for, through your time at LET training. That trainer is available via several different methods. You can contact them by email, and most students will choose to do this. Alternatively, you can book in support sessions over the phone, over Zoom, or Microsoft Teams. These support sessions are available between 9 and 5:30. Monday to Friday, Sydney time, and they run for approximately 30 minutes. Furthermore to that, you will get multiple assessment attempts for each of your units. You can have up to 3 to start with. After a third attempt, if you're still not considered competent, that's not the end of the course. All we do is put a temporary hold on that particular assessment, and we give you some additional attempts after you have a 30-minute support session with your trainer. Now, Ray, as someone who does do a lot of the support services here, especially when it comes to the 30-minute support sessions, are there any sort of tips and tricks for
Sure.
students? Anything like maybe getting resource material together or getting notes together or things like that prior to the session beginning? What would you say are the most important ones to keep in mind?
For me, 2 words: be prepared. Given the, I guess the pace with which a 30-minute session can go, learners really need to be targeted in what they want to achieve, because essentially it's driven by the learner. So they need to have the questions written down that they want clarified. They need to be very specific in terms of what they require of the trainer assessor. So having, and I know that's some really basic housekeeping, but making sure the internet connection is reliable, that you're logged on to tutors if you're talking about tutors, for example, or that you have access to the workbooks that you're having difficulties with. The other thing is make sure that you are in a dedicated space, undistracted, to be able to engage in the support session. So that means being in a stationary position, and I know that might sound stupid in saying, but a number of times I've had people driving vehicles wanting to undertake a support session. So it's not conducive either to the learner or to myself when, a connection is coming in and out, fading in and out, and again, the person is distracted by the road. So really basic requirements, as you would do for any professional meeting.
Right. And one other thing I'll also point out, that in most states, it would actually not be legal either
Correct.
to be
Correct.
operating a motor vehicle while trying to do a support session. So just keep that in mind as well, everyone. And as you see here, we've just opened up a section on our assessments. And as we see here, there is a knowledge and a practical assessment. Now, the knowledge assessment is a series of short answers, and the majority of the information you will find in your resource material. The question I always get asked as a course advisor, I'm sorry, no, none of them are multiple choice. There are no multiple choice answers as part of this knowledge assessment, but don't worry, there are also no essays either. It's just a series of short answers. They require a quick summary, and they're designed so trainers know you've read and understood the resource material, as well as further research on the acts and legislation in your particular state. One advantage to our course being nationally recognised is that we do provide information for people in all states and territories on their particular governing body, so they can go and access particular pieces of information on their websites. So don't worry about that. Now, the practical assessment is the other assessment. There are 2 per unit, remember. These practical skills assessments do not require access to a classroom, work site, and no work placements. They are mostly completed through case studies, simulated workplace events, or interactive tasks, or as we call them, role play scenarios. These role plays are booked in via your trainer or via our admin team. And as previously discussed, they can be between 9 and 5:30, Monday to Friday, Sydney time. Now, all of our assessments are marked on a competence or not yet competent scale. So if
Mhm.
you're considered not yet competent, it's no problem. Remember, you have multiple attempts on every assessment task. Now, an important thing to keep in mind as well, and another question I get asked a lot about, is if people can use their own information or the information from their workplace to assist with answering the questions of an assessment. And the answer to that is no. While you can always draw on your own personal knowledge, that's fine. We do provide case studies and simulated workplace events just because we need to mark everyone on exactly the same criteria. And if we were to allow people to provide their own external information as part of an assessment answer, it wouldn't be fair on the people who maybe have never worked in a WHS role before. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. We'll always give you the case studies and the simulated businesses, and your answers will come from those. And we'll just pause for one more moment here, and we'll see if there are any questions regarding assessments before we move on. Okay, there doesn't appear to be, so we'll move on to our next section, which is concerning other assessment pathways, specifically credit transfers and recognition of prior learning. Now, Ray, when we talk credit transfers, because there's a little bit of maybe misconception about what RPL is, it's
Mhm.
actually two separate areas. So, for example, a
Correct.
credit transfer, now that concerns specific previous study, doesn't it? That's all it focuses on.
Absolutely. It's previous accredited or nationally recognised vocational education and training and its qualifications. So needing to see actual tangible competency outcomes in respect of that formal training. And I did focus on VET, vocational education and training. We need to compare from a credit transfer point of view, apples to apples. So higher education does not come within the ambit of credit transfer within the VET system, unless, of course, your higher education provider is facilitating a VET program and they are issuing formal VET qualifications, which certain universities actually do. But if you're doing an undergraduate bachelor course and wanting credit transfer for an introduction to legal studies course that you've done, credit transfer is not eligible in that particular situation or in that way. We'd look at it through potentially an RPL process. However, again, credit transfer, same for same in terms of you've done a unit that comprises the course, and you've done it recently within the last 2 to 3 years. It needs to be current, that it is eligible for recognition through credit transfer on provision of certified evidence, so certified copy of the record of results from the provider, or alternatively, post 2016, a full authenticated VET transcript from the Office of the Registrar of the Student Identifiers, the USI regime.
Right. Now, these assessment can be done prior to enrolment. All you need to do is submit these transcripts either to the course advisors or to our admin team, and one of our trainers can make an assessment within 1 to 2 business days on if there is any potential credit transfers. This particular assessment does incur no additional fees. That's important to point out. What you would then need to do is get a certified copy of the transcript, and that would then complete the assessment. And you can do that at any stage, either before enrolling or during your enrolment. If you are waiting on a transcript from a different provider, for example, you can enroll in the course, and then you can come back later on and say, I have these units previously completed. Here is the transcript. So you can do that at any stage during your enrolment term. Now, as we were discussing, credit transfers relate to previous study. Recognition of prior learning, or RPL, now that focuses on informal skills, right, Ray? Specifically focusing on skills acquired at work.
That's correct. So here you're talking about actual, tangible, workplace-based evidence. It may include informal training outcomes from a workplace point of view, but being able to clearly demonstrate your competency in a work environment.
Okay. Now, this is a bit more of an in-depth process, the
Mhm,
RPL
mhm.
assessment, but the initial consultation can be done prior to enrolment, where one of our trainers can have a 15 to 20-minute conversation over the phone discussing your current roles and responsibilities. At that point, it'd be advantageous to submit a current resume and a current job description, just so the trainer could give the best idea of potential areas of RPL. After enrolment is when the specific assessment begins. And that's when, Ray, the trainer would provide you with an RPL kit. Is that correct?
Correct. That's correct. So we have a full documented suite of information and guidance that walks the candidate through the requirements for completing unit-specific RPL. So what this covers is not only the application form, but listing of what I call indicative evidence, the sorts of things that the learner may have access to that in their work environment that demonstrates their capability. The kit itself also includes things like a third-party report where they would get a direct supervisor, for example, or someone who is in an oversight role that can make comments about their skill performance, and then declaration as well. So it's a self-contained suite of information, probably around 21 pages long, of guidance. If I go back to the indicative evidence, and if we relate it to work health and safety, here we're talking about items appropriately redacted or de-identified from a privacy and commercial in confidence perspective, but documentation that clearly demonstrates the candidate has done certain things. So, for example, extracts from risk register entries that clearly indicate the person as having responsibility for managing a particular WHS risk in the workplace. Examples of safe work method statements, for example, that the candidate has developed, consulted with around the business, and then finalised and had approved and implemented. Other examples come back to things like an incident investigation report, so showing, undertaking root cause analyses of a particular incident, or, for example, a portfolio of documentation of managing rehabilitation and return to work for an injured worker. So very tangible, specific, but I keep elaborating and reinforcing, de-identified and appropriately reacted, real documentation, real evidence.
Fantastic. Now, unlike credit transfers, a fee is incurred for an RPL assessment, but that fee is only incurred when you actually submit your evidence for assessment. So all the initial steps, your consultation, even the submission, the trainer providing you with your RPL kit does not incur additional fees. It's only when you submit your evidence that's when a fee is incurred. Now, fees do vary depending on the number of units you are seeking RPL assessments for, and you can always discuss them either with your trainer after enrolment or with the course advisors prior to enrolment. They'll be happy to help you out there. We'll just move on to our next section now, and this is on support services. Now, we've touched on support services over the last couple of slides, but just to reiterate, we do have several options available for students to gain support. As we see here, you can contact the office at 0296333929, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And that would get you in touch with our admin team. So if you were looking to book in a session with your trainer, or if you were also had any questions regarding payment or regarding technical aspects of the online learning platform, the admin team would be happy to help you. You can also email your inquiries to prior to enrolment to enquire@lettraining.com.au. The course advisors will be happy to help you out there. After enrolment, you would, of course, email your questions directly to your trainer. We also have a Facebook group available where you can engage in peer support with other people currently completing Certificate 4 courses. And if you are ready to enroll, you can enroll at any time. You can enroll via a couple of different methods. The most popular is to enroll via our website, and we see the link below there. When you go to that particular page, you are looking for the Enroll Now link. It is directly underneath the nationally recognized training logo, so it will look something like that. Click on the Enroll Now section. It will take you to the enrollment page on our website, and you can complete your enrollment there. Alternatively, you can enroll via an enrolment form. These forms are attached to the course information packs you have received by email. All you need to do is complete them on your computer. You don't even need to print it out. and you can email them back to us. Regardless of the method by which you do enroll, your enrollments will be processed within 1 business day, and you will receive your login details and your trainer's contact information via email. If you need any assistance with the enrolment process, don't hesitate to get in contact with us. Just call us at 02 9633 3929 and we'll be happy to help you. Alternatively, you can always send us an email. And as we see here, enrolling in the course, you don't have to pay for the entire course upfront in full. You can use one of the payment plans we have available, and we have some examples of potential options of payment plans here. So as we see, most courses will have 5 different payment plans. You can pay for the course upfront in full, or you can pay for 50% upfront and then the remaining 50% in either 30 or 60 days. We also have monthly, fortnightly, and weekly payment plans available. Important thing to note there is that every payment plan has an upfront cost. That upfront cost cannot be changed. So if the upfront cost of a weekly plan, for example, is $150 or $180 or $200 perhaps, that cannot be changed. However, the installments following can slightly be altered. If you'd like to pay the course off quicker, we can always make some customizations there. We would always recommend talking to the course advisors or to the accounts team regarding that, and they'll be happy to help you out as best they can. We can also create invoices for people who are looking to have their company pay for the course. Just contact the course advisors. We will need to get a couple of pieces of information from you, such as company name, address, and the name of anyone to attention the invoice to, but we can have an invoice created and sent off to you within 1 business day as well. And we will just take one more moment here and we'll see if there are any further questions regarding the orientation that we can help with. There doesn't appear to be any questions coming through on chat, so we might finish up the orientation there. Now, if after viewing this you do have questions, don't hesitate to get in contact with us. You can contact us via email. The email's there, enquire@lettraining.com.au, or you can always give us a call. The number again, 02 9633 3929. You can also reach us at Facebook at lettraining1. But with all that being said, we will begin to finish up here. This has been the course orientation for Certificate 4 in Work Health and Safety. I'd just like to thank Ray for his time today. Thanks a lot, Ray. It's been greatly appreciated.
My pleasure, Tim, and I look forward to welcoming new learners in their Cert 4 and WHS program to Let Training and supporting their program progress.
Fantastic. Well, my name is Tim Socker. I'm one of the course advisors at Let Training. This has been the orientation for Certificate 4 in Work Health and Safety. And with that, we will finish up the orientation now. Thanks all for your attendance and have a great day.